गुड इवनिंग एवरीबॉडी। आज के जागतिक महिला दिन के अवसर पर आज हम सेल्फ केयर राइट ऑफ एवरी वुमन ये विषय पर चर्चा करने के लिए यहाँ पे सम्मिलित हुए हैं। हमारे साथ प्रोफेसर अमृता पाध्य मैडम हैं। मैडम नमस्कार।
नमस्ते।
आपका स्वागत है। आप सभी का स्वागत है जिन्होंने आज अटेंड करने की इच्छा दर्शाई है और जो आए हैं अपना टाइम निकाल के। हमेशा की तरह सेशन की शुरुआत हम एक छोटी प्रार्थना से करेंगे। उसके बाद में मैडम का अल्प परिचय मैं दे देती हूँ। उसके बाद में मैडम को हैंड ओवर करती हूँ सेशन शुरू करने के लिए। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। सेशन की शुरुआत करने से पहले अमृता मैडम का मैं अल्प परिचय करती हूँ। उसके पहले एक जनरल इंस्ट्रक्शंस में देना चाहूंगी कि सेशन के दौरान अपना ऑडियो वीडियो कृपया ऑफ रखिए। अंत में 5-10 मिनट क्वेश्चन आंसर्स या फिर जो भी आपके विचार विमर्श के लिए रखे जाएंगे, तभी आप आपका ऑडियो और वीडियो ऑन करके आपके सवाल पूछ सकती है या फिर आपके जो भी व्यूज है आप शेयर कर सकती हैं। और इस विषय के रिलेटेड या अदरवाइज भी आपको अगर काउंसलिंग के बारे में और कुछ जानना है, आपके फैमिली में या फिर किसी को काउंसलिंग अगर ये सुविधा अगर आप लेना चाहते हैं, तो नंबर दिए गए हैं जो हमने पैम्पलेट इस कार्यक्रम का बनाया हुआ था, उसमें नंबर दिए हैं। वहाँ पे कांटेक्ट करके आप और चैट बॉक्स में भी मैं लिखने वाली हूँ, तो वो नंबर पे आप कांटेक्ट करके काउंसलिंग सेशन अगर आप बुक करना चाहते हैं तो आप कर सकते हैं। ओके, मैं अभी अमृता पाध्य मैडम का अल्प परिचय देती हूँ। अमृता मैडम, she is assistant professor of psychology at SIES College of Arts, Science and Commerce. She has done MA in psychology, clinical specialization. She practices online and offline. She has been invited as a psychologist on interview panel of PSU. She is pursuing her PhD in psychological aspects of diabetes. We are very honored to have you, madam, with us, and I request you to start today's session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Manali ma'am, for having me.
Thank you.
Is the audio clear?
Yes, madam.
Just a minute, I'm just getting echo. Fine, is it better now?
Yeah, you are audible, madam.
Okay. So, good afternoon to all of you. Can I see you for a minute? Can you all switch on your videos for a minute? Hello. I can see Sunny is switched on. Namaste. I can see Sonali ma'am. I can see Ruby ma'am. Ujjwala ma'am. All right. So I shall see you after the session and then we will have a discussion. Okay. Okay, I believe that the slide is seen and I'm audible. If there is anything in between, you can raise your hand and let us know if there is some problem. All right. So as ma'am introduced me, my name is Amruta Padhye and I'm currently raised hand. Yes, Sonali ma'am. Sonali ma'am, is there any difficulty?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Fine. So as she introduced me, I'm Amruta and I am basically teaching in SIES college. Okay, so we are going to discuss today about self-care. Okay, though the topic what you all had on poster was right. Okay, now I'm thinking whether we should have put it as right or duty of every woman. Okay, now I want to clarify a few things before I begin. This session is not that I know it all and I'm going to tell you so that you will know it from henceforth, you will start knowing it. It is not the intention of this session. The intention of this session is probably to think about what we have been doing, what we are doing, and where we are heading, and whether we want to do that in the same manner. Okay, so being a woman, okay, in the Indian society, okay, how our upbringing has been, how our thought processes have been, do we so it is just an attempt to think consciously whether what we are doing is what we want to do. So in the session we are not going to discuss that this is the right way of doing and this is the wrong way of doing. Probably we are only going to discuss this is what we have been doing and this is the impact of what we have been doing, and hence what will happen if we continue to do so. Right, so before we begin, let's ponder over a few questions. Okay, so since all of us are women here, okay, what is our number one priority? Okay, who's the number one priority in our lives? Okay, think about it for yourself, you need not answer. So what is number one if you are given only one priority? Is it your son? Is it your husband? Is it your parents? Is it yourself? Who is it? Who is the first one priority? When I say priority, I mean that that person's needs are put forward than anyone else's needs. Okay, suppose if I'm saying it's my son or it's my daughter or it's my husband, it means कि मैं बाकी कुछ भी adjust कर लूंगी, लेकिन उनका health मेरा priority है, तो उनके health first आएगा, उसके बाद अगर मुझे हुआ तो करूंगी, नहीं तो नहीं करूंगी, and so on. So what is it that is first? Okay, the next question is, what is the last time you thought about yourself? Okay, so we are also busy thinking about, what to prepare for tomorrow, how to manage this, how to manage that. What is the last time? When is the last time that you thought, oh, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I would like to do in my life, and this is what I would want to be in my life? When is the last time that you remember very clearly? It could be now, it could be just 2 minutes before, it could be 2 months before. Okay, for some people it could be, maybe it's been 6 months, or for some earlier generations it could be ऐसा थोड़ी सोचते हैं, ऐसा कुछ मैं सोचती नहीं हूँ. I just जैसे दिन आता है वैसे मैं बताती हूँ, ऐसा कुछ मैं सोचती नहीं हूँ. And when is the last time that you stood for yourself? That no, this is what I want, and therefore the other person be adjusting a little bit क्योंकि मुझे ये चाहिए. When is the last time that you have stood for yourself? Okay, so I give you a 1 minute's time to just ponder over all the three questions. When is the last time you stood? Okay, you stood need not be, I'm not referring to every time it's a fight that you've had with somebody else. It could just be that telling the other person, ठीक है हम कर रहे हैं लेकिन मुझे actually ये पसंद नहीं है, मुझे actually कुछ और पसंद है, and so on. So when is the last time that you stood for yourself? Absolutely. Okay, ma'am is saying depends on stages of life. That's correct. That's absolutely what we are going to talk about next. Okay, so now since childhood, okay, how is the woman or how is a female been raised? Okay, now you will be happy to know a few things about, if you look at the newborn stage, our infancy stage, research shows very clearly that female infants, okay, जो लड़कियां होती है, infants, they are more, more resilient. They are more likely to survive in hard conditions as compared to male counterparts. इसका मतलब है अगर कोई complications होती है, birth complications होती है, तो अगर वो female child होगी तो उसका survival chances ज़्यादा होता है. This has been proven by research, and it is very clear that females have more resilience when they are born itself. Okay, so newborn, there is difference. Now this slide, we are going to talk about a little bit of differences between how women and men, okay, go through different stages. Okay, now if you look at toddlerhood, okay, research has found that men are more, they have more activity levels as compared to females. Okay, now toddlerhood also is the time when we as a society start introducing certain things to the toddlers, like the small kids, which is, say for instance, we start, for when it's a birthday, okay, when you go to a gift shop, अगर 3 साल के बच्चे का बर्थडे है और आप बोलते हो मुझे एक गिफ्ट लेना है, मेरा ये बजट है, मेरा 500 रुपए का बजट है, तो वो दुकानदार आपको पूछता है लड़की है कि लड़का है, जिसका मतलब हम 3 साल या उसके पहले से खिलौने अलग अलग देते हैं दोनों को. Okay, so if it is a female, it is a different set of toys. If it is a male, it is a different set of toys. Okay, comparatively, we would be comfortable giving a blocks, game to a girl as compared to a doll to a boy. Okay, many of us might feel हाँ देना तो चाहिए, but I'm not sure how many of us might want to take that awkwardness, okay, which is मैं अकेले ऐसे रहूंगी जो एक लड़के के बर्थडे पार्टी में जाके डॉल लेके जाऊंगी, जो बाकी लोग अलग अलग लाएंगे जो मेल रिलेटेड टॉयज है. Okay, so that is probably the first time when we start making very clear differences. If we look at the US culture starts making differences very soon, which is even when they are newborns, they dress them in different colors. Okay, so then we look at adolescence. Now, adolescence, obviously, girls start having their menstruation, they start having periods, okay, which is obviously very different. And, it is almost going to start every month. And every month का वो एक psychological impact भी होता है और biological भी. Okay, it could be about pains, it could be about pains and aches, it could be about managing exams along with the pain of periods and so on. Okay, adult life, the female obviously goes through a different stages, like ma'am mentioned. Typically to talk about was menopause. Okay, menopause becomes one of the important milestones wherein there are a lot of biological and psychological changes which happen in a female. Okay, so are there real differences? Okay, हम जो बोलते हैं कि females, males are different, are there differences? Yes, research very clearly shows that there are differences. So the first one that we talk about is evolutionary psychology. Okay, earlier times, which is long, like thousands of years ago, okay, men typically were into hunting. उनका profession hunting था, जिसका मतलब है वो wild animals या animals को मार के घर लाके वो खाने का इंतजाम करती थी. So hence, males' visuospatial abilities developed better, whereas females' role was to cook at home, to take care of the children, and to take care of all the older adults. Therefore, females' language abilities developed better. Okay, females also have been said to have better emotional emotional understanding as compared to males. However, research is very clearly not showing that in favor of females, but is clearly showing that in favor of males, which means research shows that males have better visuospatial abilities. जिसका मतलब हम distance, okay, reverse लेना गाड़ी, ये सब जो judgments है वो males brains are better catering to this. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि हर एक male is better than her ek female. It could be I'm a very good driver probably, and then I'm better than any one male. So it is not every female is better than every male. Okay, however, on an average, males seem to do better on some tasks which are visuospatial tasks, whereas females seem to do better more on the language ones. Okay, there have been now talking about psychological differences. The brain of males and females are little better. Okay, those of you who have come from biology background will agree to this, that there have been males' brains have more lateralization. Okay, which means some specific areas get devoted to specific work, whereas for females the lateralization is not as clear as for males. Okay, that continues to even adolescence. Okay, which means that females sometimes have an advantage, especially if you look at the disorder schizophrenia. If female is suffering schizophrenia, she has less of symptoms or she has less of language issues because the other brain parts are able to take over. Okay, so considering all these factors, now social factors is something that we can go on and on. how are we brought up differently? Okay, since childhood. Okay, now I think things have changed to a very great extent, and I see कि बहुत सारे घरों में मेल चाइल्ड हो या फीमेल चाइल्ड हो सेम तरीके का काम करते हैं. Okay, so it is not like earlier times wherein the females used to do kitchen related work is about females and bahar se laake aane ka is about males. I do not see that in a lot of homes. Okay, but of course there are homes which follow this kind of differentiation. However, I was just talking to my student about this, and she was saying that yes, ma'am, me and my brother do the same things, but my brother has to be told several times as compared to me. So my mother has to insist that he does the dishes and all of that as compared to me. So here, are we talking about a differentiation or are we talking about discrimination? Okay, here we are only talking about differentiation, which means they are different, but not necessarily one is superior than inferior. Okay, now, as this is seen, we can also see that girls typically do not, many times in homes, girls are not encouraged to say Uber booking karna hai, okay, वजन उठाना है. तो ये सब में boys are told that नहीं, ये आपको करना पड़ेगा. लेकिन girls are also used to this कि मैं भाई को बुलाऊंगी क्योंकि बैग उठाना था, मैंने इसको बुलाया क्योंकि ये करना था, and so on. So sometimes it is that males have to do both. Males have to also engage in kitchen work and also be doing all this, whereas females escape. I don't know whether it's a very strong word, but they would escape some kind of jobs. Okay. Also, since childhood, are we telling girls that you must make more adjustments because you are going to get married into a new family and you have to adjust to the new family? So आपको ज्यादा adjustments करने पड़ेंगे, ये तुम्हारे तरीके ठीक नहीं हैं, तो आपको पहले से, do we tell girls? Okay, I'm asking that, do we tell girls? Since again, I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. I'm just trying to ask, are we telling the girls since young age कि आपको कोई adjustments करने पड़ेंगे? Okay, अगर घर को शांत रखना है तो आपको adjustment करने पड़ेंगे. They are not going to adjust because you are going to go to their homes. Okay, which I'm really not sure how helpful is that, because adjustments have to be made by the boys as well, because it's two different people coming together in the context of marriage. Social बोलने के लिए बहुत है. Sometimes I would also not want to say that males are at an advantage. Sometimes it could be females are also at an advantage. So you would see that they are far more aware of changing social norms. Yeah, probably they are exposed to more social norms. But we are okay with a female not earning. But how okay are we if the male says, no, I'm going to take a break for 2 years and I'm going to, explore here and there. Whereas for a female, that's what I look into my context. If I look into my context, I would probably be able to tell my husband that, listen, you know what, for 2 years, I'm going to take a break and not earn, and then you support me financially. So I want to explore here and there. Okay, I'm really not sure if my husband was to say this to me, how comfortable I would be. Okay, so there are certain things which are in favor of females. I do not always see that it's always the females who have been at a disadvantage. So as females, or I have seen girls of my age calling their husbands or brothers and saying that, okay, will you do a Uber booking for me? Okay, and the husband or the brother, happily does the booking every time that the female has to move out. Can I honestly feel surprised as to why she doesn't feel that I should know this, or the brother and the husband does not tell her that why don't you learn once? But sometimes we do have an advantage on these lines. Okay, so now we directly talk about mental health. Okay, so which is going to be the focus of our today's talk. Okay, so mental health in the context of thoughts, emotions and behaviors. हम हमारी mental health के बारे में सोचेंगे. इसके आगे का जो lecture है will be focused more on mental health, relationship and careers, which will be applicable to both males and females. Okay, so after this, we are not going to separately deal with thoughts like males separately and females. We just try to touch upon what may be different in males and females. Okay, for every slide there could be one hour lecture on these. Okay, so we are not going to go in detail. So first thing that we talk about is thoughts. Okay, how do thoughts influence our life? Okay, so we are going to talk about thoughts. So I want you to think about 2 minutes as to how thoughts influence our lives. Why are thoughts important? Are you sitting with some thoughts in the class now? Do you have some thoughts? And how are these thoughts shaping you as a human being? Okay, or forget human being. Right now, what exactly is happening at your end with the thoughts that you have? Okay, if we have had time, we'll now talk about thoughts and we discuss a few disturbing thoughts. Okay, which I was going through the forms which you all have filled, and I know there some people have mentioned that there is a lot of anxiety concerns, there is a lot of depression concerns, which we'll not be able to address in this session though. But what is it? So it's about thoughts. Okay, so first we are going to talk about is there are some thoughts which are bothering us. Okay, what is this bothering thoughts? Okay, so it could be, okay, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Why did I not do this? Why did I not do? So this thought is bothering us for a very long period of time. Okay, or any other thought for that matter, or there are too many thoughts at one point of time. Okay, there is constantly thinking about one thing again and again. Okay, so there could be several things related to thoughts. Okay, so now there are very simple things that we talk about as to how to manage thoughts. Okay, thoughts are going to be there, so they have to be managed in our favor. Okay, doing any kind of training will never ensure that we do not want the unwanted, like we do not have the unwanted thoughts. They would always be there. Right now, what we are going to talk about is how we focus on those thoughts which we want to. Okay, so like there are certain thoughts which I do not want to think. So suppose if I'm trying to do a PPT and I keep thinking, oh, I don't think I do a cool PPT. Okay, I don't think I do a cool. So if that thought is not helpful as of now, and therefore I do not want to focus on that. Does that mean it's never going to come? No, it will come. But I choose my thoughts. Okay, so the first thing that we talk under thoughts is circle of concern and circle of control. Okay, which is, and in the next slide, we will talk in detail about, okay, so there is small, okay, orange, yellow, okay, thing that you can see. Okay, this is circle of control and the other part is circle of concern. Okay, so what is circle of control and what is circle of concern? Okay, circle of control is the things that are in my hand. It depends on me. I decide to do something, I decide not to do something, all that is there in my hand. And circle of concern is with something which is beyond my orange, okay, circle, is something that I'm in, it bothers me but is not in my control. Okay, say for instance, every day I travel by bus. Okay, now with Chalo app things have become very easy and I do not have these concerns anymore. But earlier, I used to have this, oh God, like in a minute, bus is gone. And one bus is gone, in 20 minutes, next 20 minutes, you don't get a bus. Okay, so bus is gone. Or, concerns about bus. Sometimes you get stuck in traffic and you really want to reach early. So all these thoughts that we are getting bothered about is not in my control, but is a concern to me. Okay, so it is. So I wanted to think of at least two things which you are, in your control. And I wanted to think of two things which you think is a concern, but not in my control. Which is, for example, my son studying. Yeah, I would love my son to study. That's my concern area, but that's not my control area. Like how many times you tell him he'll do something else, he'll just sit on mobile and he'll do some time pass or whatever it is. And some behaviors which we see in the next slide are, half into this and half into this. Okay, so can anyone think about like, or I want all of you to think a little bit about what's circle of control and what's circle of concern for each one of you. It could be different for different people. It need not be, or it wouldn't be the same. Okay, other people's behavior. Okay, I would want my husband to behave in certain way, my mother-in-law to behave in certain way, but that's not what's been happening. So it's a concern, but that's not in my control. Okay, are we good? Are we okay? So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, now, so things which bother me, what is in my hand? Let's talk about what's in my hand, what's in my control, which is telling people. I can tell people, I can tell my son, please study. I can tell my husband, okay, please eat on time. I can tell things to anything to anybody. I can tell my students, please submit assignments on time. Okay, that is my, that is my, something that's there in my hand. My daily routine, my thoughts, and what I eat. Okay? What's not there? So who gets promoted? I would want to be promoted, but that's not in my hands. Okay, what others think? Okay, my son's study, okay, traffic, what other people make impressions about me, and so on. So all that is into concern, but not in my hand. Okay, now illness. If you look at illness, some things, some behaviors, maybe the illness is because I behaved in certain way, which is, suppose people have not been sleeping on time for 3 years, then it could result into some illness. Okay, but that illness is not completely attributed to this. It could also be something else, which is maybe a heredity and so on. Here we have something called as a cognitive distortion. Now this is a very, very interesting part of it. You think of one person whom you don't like, whom you hate. Okay, what's one good quality that that person has? Okay, what's one good quality which that particular person has? It's very difficult to think of. Okay, many of us think of, oh, my boss is all bad. Okay, mother-in-laws is a category which is all bad. Okay, it's very difficult to look at people as gray. Okay, because that takes a lot of cognitive effort. Okay, once I split people as good and bad, it's very easy for me कि ठीक है ये अच्छे लोग हैं ये अच्छे लोग नहीं हैं. तो cognitive load, okay, जो दिमाग पे जो लोड होता है उस वो काम कम हो जाता है दिमाग का, बिकॉज आई स्प्लिट पीपल एज दिस एंड दैट. बिकॉज इफ आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड पीपल एज ग्रे, विच इज हाँ इनका ये अच्छा है लेकिन इनका ये अच्छा नहीं है, okay, is a lot of efforts for my brain, and my brain would not want to take that efforts. So that's one reason I would split people as good and bad. Many of us do that. It can't be all bad and it can't be all good. It could also be about governments. I do not want to get into a lot of political debates, but any government, whichever is the ruling government, be it BJP or be it Congress, okay, many of us know BJP is all good. Okay, I've seen people who have said that they will not take one sentence against the BJP government or Congress government. It's not about BJP Congress. That what I'm trying to say is the thought process. हमारा thought process क्या है? ये अच्छा ही है तो सब अच्छा कर रहे हैं, या अच्छा ही नहीं है तो सब कुछ भी अच्छा नहीं कर रहे. Like there have been people who have said in 70 साल में कांग्रेस ने कुछ नहीं किया. Okay, so it is all or none. Okay, this is called as all or none thinking. Okay, this typically, because we think all or none, it creates more of negative emotions. Okay, if I was to say, okay, suppose if I'm somebody who opposes BJP, and if I say BJP ne kuch nahi kiya itne saal, now then the feeling, the emotion that I have is a lot of negative emotion, which is probably an anger or sadness or so on. Okay, then is magnification, which is my problems are bigger than life. So I'm the only one whose problems are so big that now I must get engrossed into that problems. Okay, this is magnification. It is actually छोटू सा है लेकिन हम इतना बड़ा चढ़ा के उसको करेंगे. It could be that. So we are not trying to say that some things do not disturb us. Okay, so I have a colleague whose whose boss is not very great. So she is quite demanding and she's quite criticizing and all of that. Okay, so fine, understood. So when she's at the work, she's generally not in a good mood. She say देखना ऐसे करती है, देखना ऐसे करती है. This goes on. Sometimes when we go out for lunch, there also she would not leave this topic and she would keep saying, see, she did this to me, she did that to me. And we have to tell her that, listen, now we've come to enjoy, right? Now that boss is not there here. Okay, where is the boss? वो office में है. वो अभी switch off कर दो जब बाहर जाओगे. Okay, so magnification. So she thinks that this is the only problem. She also thinks that this is only to me and nobody else in the world has this problem. Okay, so it is magnification. My problems are much bigger than what they actually are. And discounting the positives. So many times you try to tell her, oh, this is good about you. She'll say, हाँ, वो क्या कोई भी कर सकता है. हाँ, कर सकता है, लेकिन मैंने भी किया ना. ऐसे आप बहुत बार करते हैं. For example, आपने बहुत अच्छा खाना बनाया. So people praise you, wow, very nice food. वो क्या कोई भी कर सकता है. हाँ, कोई भी कर सकता है शायद. It's not one thing which you have made in the whole world. It's not a world record, but haven't you done it? Haven't you put in efforts? Haven't you done it? So you may not want to take compliments also. We may want to be just say that हाँ इसमें क्या है क्या कोई भी कर सकता है ठीक है इतना कुछ खास नहीं था and so on. Okay. So this is called as discounting the positives, which is this is good, but anyone could have done it. Okay, now there are a lot of cognitive distortions, but because we are interacting only at a certain level, I just thought of putting in 3. Okay, there are about 10 to 11 distortions, cognitive distortions, which have been identified by psychologists. Okay, typically in therapy or in counseling, we address these thoughts. Okay, और एक लड़की का okay, there was some intercaste marriage that she was going to have. So, the in-laws were not ready and her parents were not ready. So she said, nothing is working out. मेरे life में कुछ भी नहीं ठीक से चल रहा है. Okay, so she was asked कि कुछ भी मतलब देखना अभी ये सब लफड़ा ये जो in-laws are not agreeing and parents are not agreeing and this is happening and that. हाँ, what else? You said nothing. Nothing means what? Job भी नहीं ठीक से चल रहा. नहीं, job चल रहा है. But so we sometimes say nothing. And then she realized, oh yeah, it's not nothing. One area is not working fine, one area is working fine. So these are called as cognitive distortions. Okay, now this is one of the most important things. What's my self-talk? What do I tell myself? I tell myself I'm no good. I tell myself I am what? I am good. I am slow. I'm probably, I'm very graceful. Probably I'm very beautiful. It could be this also. So what is it? What is I am coming to your mind? When you say I am, tell me 5 things or, think about 5 things that come to your mind. I am. There's no right or wrong. Okay, by the way, there's no right or wrong. We don't have evaluations. I'm not talking about, suppose if I say I'm very beautiful, we are not getting into whether I am beautiful or I am not beautiful. That is not the question at all. The question here is, I am what? What comes to your mind? Okay, take 2 minutes time and just brush through and think about what comes to your mind. I am. I am. What kind of characteristics do you think about yourself? Okay, and I don't want you to वो interview में जाते हैं ना prepare करके कि I am a very perfectionist and I'm this and that. Not those kinds. That is okay to say in an interview, not when you are discussing and having a real talk about oneself. I am what? I always was like that. I always was very particular. I always was. So I also say, when I say I always was, I label myself. ऐसे नहीं, हमेशा मैंने ऐसे किया तो मैं ऐसे ही करूंगी लाइफ में. मैं दूसरा कुछ कर ही नहीं सकती क्योंकि मैंने हमेशा ऐसे किया है. What are things that you have blocked because you have told yourself हमेशा मैंने ऐसे किया है. कितना टाइम लगता है हमको ये सोचने के लिए कि हमेशा मैंने ऐसा किया है तो इस बार दूसरा करके देखती हूँ. नो, ये कुकिंग स्टाइल, ये डिश मैंने हमेशा ऐसे ही बनाई है. जब से मैं बना रही हूँ तब से ऐसे ही बनाई. इट्स बीन 15 years that I've been cooking and this is how I've been doing. So I would not change. So I always was. It could also be that I always was bright. I was a very bright student. Okay? So that's about thoughts. We look at emotions. Okay, this is something very, very important topic. Of course, thoughts are also important. Okay, many a times we are not being, there is no formal training that we have to identify our emotions. Okay, what is identify emotions? Do we know what we are feeling? Okay, many of us will feel, of course मुझे पता है क्या है, of course मुझे पता है. Okay, many times when you go deep into your emotions, you realize that what emotion you felt is not what you actually are going through. It's something else. Okay, say for example, just a minute. Sorry, I'm in college, so there's a little bit of disturbance. Yes, so I was saying that. So I was saying that identifying emotions. Okay, so there was one girl, okay, who came with anger issues. So she had a lot of anger problems. So kept on getting angry at husband, in-laws. Constantly there was a lot of anger. Okay, so the emotion that she identified was anger. Okay, when you dig further, okay, she realized it was not anger, it was actually a lot of sadness. Sadness which came out because the way she was treated in certain way by the in-laws. So the in-laws were not like, hitting her, or not on those lines. Okay, the in-laws basically did not include her in anything, which is, लॉकर का कुछ रखना है तो उसको नहीं लेके जाना है, कुछ भी डिस्कशन करना है फैमिली के बारे में तो उसको नहीं इंक्लूड करना है, ऑन दोज लाइन्स. Okay, so she actually felt a lot of sadness, but because sadness is it puts you into a victim mode, she started showing anger. Okay, many times, in fact, we have realized that anger has a lot of other emotions which are, in the background. दिखता anger है, लेकिन पीछे कुछ और है. Okay, what is the emotion? Where? Now, where in your body do you feel the emotion? Okay, sometimes we say ना, यहाँ पे chest में मुझे एकदम ऐसे heaviness हो रहा है, which means there is some emotion which probably I'm not able to label it. I'm not able to understand what is the emotion. So, कहाँ है? Where in my body? Sometimes you say stomach में कुछ हो रहा है. Okay, when you had exams, when we had vivas, okay, stomach में कुछ होता था. So where and what is the intensity? Okay, some intense, like mildly intense emotions are appropriate. Like for an exam, no psychologist will go jumping. So even those who are psychologists, who are, maybe PhDs in psychology, or who have done like anything, like they would be masters about everything, they would still have a little bit of anxiety, okay, when they faced something. Okay, when they faced an exam, when they faced an evaluation, they would definitely have anxiety. The whole idea is, to what extent does this anxiety disrupt my performance? Okay, would you not feel anxious if you had a talk today? Of course we would. We would think that, oh, I must be able to communicate what I want to, and so on, right? So that's one. Now, emotions is something that I would want to talk in detail, because it has been seen in a lot of studies, and a lot of private practitioners also say that women, okay, वो emotions के बारे में बात नहीं करते. At one end we talk, it's known that females communicate emotions and so on. At other end, it has been found that females do not, they pile up a lot of emotions. Like, have you come across females who say that lower backache हो रहा है, लेकिन मेरे सब रिपोर्ट्स नॉर्मल है, मेरा MRI क्लियर है, मेरा CT स्कैन क्लियर, मेरा सब क्लियर है, लेकिन डॉक्टर बोलते हैं स्ट्रेस की वजह से हो रहा है. ओके, स्ट्रेस की वजह से बैक एक कैसे होता है? स्ट्रेस की वजह से थॉट में गड़बड़ होता है, इज ओके, बिकॉज इट्स अबाउट योर माइंड. बट स्ट्रेस की वजह से बॉडी में कैसे कुछ होता है? हाउ इज द बॉडी affected by stress which is at my mind level? Okay, because as we know that the mind and body are connected. Okay, when you are unwell, when you have fever, आपका मूड भी डाउन रहता है. ऐसे जनरली नहीं होता है कि you have fever and you're in a very pleasant mood. You generally are cranky and you don't feel like, and so on. Also, when we have dreams, dreaming is happening at the mind level because your eyes are closed, but you will sometimes get up, you will have a startle response, kabhi-kabhi sweating hota hai, ye sab hota hai, which means that the mind and body are connected. Therefore, a lot of females, when they experience a lot of pain, okay, in the body, okay, that is probably because there is a lot of accumulation of emotions. जो इमोशंस बाहर नहीं गई है बॉडी की, or it has been stored in the body since years together. Okay, that's maybe one reason. I'm not trying to say that all backaches are due to some kind of stress or some kind of emotions, or it is not everything is a result of emotions. I'm just trying to say that sometimes emotions do impact the body. Okay, so how do we take care of the emotions? One is to let out, one is to agree that yes, I feel angry. Okay, one thing that I was telling you, recently one of my students delivered a baby, and she has a son, and then she says that son is not sleeping and it's so tiring, and मेरा इतना दिमाग खराब होता है, मुझे irritate होता है. Okay, but she says that अगर मैं ये किसी को बोलती हूँ तो people will become very upset. They say तुम माँ हो, you are the mother, you should not think like this, you should not say like this. Okay, and did your mother raise you? She said of course she did. So when you are the mother, you should not say these things, is what she's been told. So we do not acknowledge that somebody who's just had a delivery, it's tough for her. It's very tough for her. She says, I miss working. ये क्या है, इसका सब unpredictable होता है, कभी सोता है, कभी नहीं सोता है, उसका कुछ भी चलता है. Okay, तो मुझे जब भी नींद आ रही है, मुझे सोने को नहीं होता है, because it all depends on him whether he will sleep. Okay, so we do not allow people to express their emotions. If she says a lot of anger, she says my people get very upset if I say मुझे बहुत गुस्सा आता है. She says इतने छोटे से बच्चे पे गुस्सा करती है. गुस्सा आता है का मतलब वो मारती नहीं है उसे, ठीक है, उसको गुस्सा आता है लेकिन उसको इरिटेट होता है. This is there is sometimes that a child just cries and you don't know what to do with the child. Okay, so considering all this, are we allowing people to express emotions? So one of the things is to let out. Okay, letting out could be any. For some people, it could be journaling, likhna. Some people, it could be painting. Some people, it could be just writing a very angry letter. Okay, so we must try to put our emotions out of the body. Otherwise, it will accumulate over years. Okay, one more thing which I want to, write here only says that we allow people when they are physical symptoms, but we do not allow excuses of, any kind of mental symptoms. Say, for instance, if I had to cancel today's talk and I was to say that I'm having a headache, I'm having a stomach ache, I'm having some physical ailment, that would have been considered okay. But if I had said that no, I'm feeling very sad and upset, unless there is a very big reason, that would not have been considered okay. So I can't tell my students I'm feeling sad, so I won't take a lecture. But I can tell that I'm getting a headache, so I will not take a lecture. Please read up something. Okay, so physical symptoms are acceptable, especially in the context of India. And that's one reason why emotions get expressed through physical symptoms. Okay, when I get a stomach ache, probably my mother is going to sit next to me and, sit down and talk to me and, do all the attention and love, which probably I may not get when I am, when I'm saying that I'm feeling sad. What are you feeling sad for? ऐसे ही, हाँ तो कुछ help शायद नहीं मिलेगी. Okay, so to be able to understand and acknowledge one's emotions. Okay, next is behaviors. Here we are going to talk in the context of habits. Okay, what kind of habits do we have which are helpful to us, which are which are detrimental to us, and so on. Okay, when we want to establish any habit, as all of us know, we must reward ourselves with small accomplishments. Suppose if I want to keep walking a kilometer or 2 kilometers or whatever it is, if I do it for 3 days, I must reward myself rather than wait for a month and then reward. Okay, mobile also has been one of the health concerns these days, and it's just a myth that younger generation is using mobile a lot. Everybody is using a mobile a lot, right? So talking about career management, now it is honestly a very different topic. In fact, it requires a whole session to talk about career. Right now, we only talk about what our goals are. Wherever you are, at whatever position you are, what is your goal in your career? Okay, so for instance, my goal would now be to complete my PhD as early as possible. I'm just in the first stage, but I would want to complete it as early as possible. Only then I will have better opportunities to switch jobs, to be able to do something else, to be associated with research organizations. So my goal is basically right now to complete PhD. So what is the path? Okay, which means I must do work every day. Okay, so every day I must add a little bit to my PhD work, then it gets completed. Otherwise, what happens typically with PhD is like, हाँ वो मैं कर रही हूँ, वो हो रहा है. So you just think automatically it will happen, and then it's been months that no work has been done. So in your context, is it a promotion that your goal is? Is it for some of us who have not, who have taken a break for 10 years, it could be starting a job, could be your goal. And then what is the path? If I want to achieve this goal, what is the path? Do I need to talk to people? अगर मुझे काउंसलिंग चालू करना है तो मैं 4 लोगों से बात करूंगी. ये मेरा पाथ है टू अचीव माय गोल कि सुनो मैं काउंसलिंग करती हूँ, सुनो मैं काउंसलिंग करती हूँ, मुझे बुलाइए, अगर कोई क्लाइंट्स होगा तो रेफर करिए. अगे so this is my path. So what is our goal in your context and what is your path? Okay, it is difficult to discuss in this context because all of us are at different career stages. All of us also belong to different professions. Okay, so if there is after I'm done with the session, after I stop speaking, okay, we can have a we'll have a discussion. So that time we can talk about if you have anything specific to say about this. Okay, of course, and needless to say that during career, females do have to undergo something, which is one is family support. Okay, sometimes some females, like one of my friend works for a bank, and she works for SBI, and if she turns in late, okay, her mother-in-law would say, what is the big deal of work that you have in bank? Bank mein kya kaam hota hai? So it would also be about family support. It could be pregnancy. So pregnancy, obviously, you would have tough time managing pregnancy and the job and childcare. Okay, if the child is younger, I definitely acknowledge that a lot of males are taking up responsibility. At the same time, what I'm trying to say is males still have a choice. Okay, say for example, one of my colleague has a 2-year-old child, and if she's getting late at work, वो उसके husband को phone करके बोलती है कि will you be able to pick up the child? So if the husband says yes, which means he has a choice, then she says ठीक है मैं नहीं जाऊंगी चलेगा, वो उसको pick up कर देगा. अगर वो ना बोलता है तो उसको काम छोड़ के जाना पड़ता है. Which means what I'm trying to say is the husband is very helpful, but he has his priority of work. And he will say yes if he can. If he can't, he can just flatly say no. And then if she says no, then all the responsibility lies on her to, complete and accomplish all of that. Right? So considering this, there are a little bit of gender differences here and there, though I totally acknowledge that these days males are very, very helpful, especially in the kitchen, and it's almost a shared work. Okay, coming to the end, relationship management. Okay, now relationships of course, are very important to all of us, not only to females, but to males as well. Okay, so the first thing that we try to identify is, where is this person? Is this a person of significant other? We always use the term significant other in psychology. Okay, which is significant other मतलब जे बहुत important लोग हैं जो मेरे life को matter करेंगे. जैसे in my life, I would say that my husband is a significant other, and my parents, both my parents, my mother and my father, are significant others. Apart from that, there are important people like my friends. Apart from that, there are people who, there are 1 or 2 colleagues who will not matter to me. कि वो कुछ भी बोले, कुछ भी करे, वो नहीं matter करता. So first is to identify whether people are significant other or not significant other. Okay, then there are certain basic skills that if we employ, relationships can turn better. Okay, this what I'm talking to you is on a very, very superficial level. I understand that the relationships have a lot of complications, especially a relationship like marriage, okay, which goes on for years together. There is so much of accumulation. Okay, like sometimes when people come for marital counseling, okay, they have had this like 10 years से पहले उसने मुझे ऐसे किया था, ऐसे किया था. There's a lot of piling up that has happened. Okay, so I'm right now in this session, I'm not talking and I'm not discussing on those lines. I'm only talking about something which is very basic relationships. Okay, one is listening. Do we listen to people just so that to listen? Or do we listen because I want to respond? I want to answer back. Okay, so listen means to leave the mobile aside, to leave everything aside, and to look at the person, to give eye contact, and so on. Okay, the other is empathy. Okay, think about one person whom you think तुम्हारा और उसकी जमती नहीं है, बनती नहीं है. It could be your parent. Okay, that's one thing. In our society, it's very discouraged. If I say मेरी और मेरी मम्मी की बनती नहीं है, then people will say, oh my God, what a big problem it is. हो सकता है 2 different individuals, both individuals allowed to express their opinions, and therefore ये नहीं बनती होगी. Fine. So empathy, which is to understand. Empathy is, suppose if you were to become that person, okay, what will happen? Okay, so sometimes, for instance, if I'm saying that as a teacher, I'm a very demanding teacher. तो ये होना ही चाहिए, ये ऐसे ही होना चाहिए, जैसे मैंने बोला वैसा ही करना चाहिए. So if I want to understand my students, I must think that, or I must become my student. Then I will be able to understand what kind of stresses that they go through. How does this help? Not that I become less demanding. The only thing that helps is I understand more, that I know that आपको मेरा ही assignment नहीं है, आपको बाकी 5 टीचर ने assignment दिया है. So when I understand this, it's just a better relationship that builds up between me and my students. And communication. Okay, communication is something that पूरी life भी हम काम करें तो भी कम ही है. So what is communication? Being able to effectively communicate what I want to and use the right words. Okay, for instance, one of my student friend, okay, when she got married, her mother-in-law kept telling her कि मुझे तुम्हारी कोई जरूरत नहीं है. तो if she said kitchen में काम करो तो बोलती मुझे कोई जरूरत नहीं. So उसको वो जरूरत नहीं है ये word बहुत लगा कि हमको तुम्हारी जरूरत नहीं है. Probably what the mother-in-law meant is right now मुझे नहीं चाहिए, मतलब अभी आपको किचन में आने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, because ये काम मुझसे हो जाएगा. Probably she meant different, but it was taken different. Okay, so sometimes it is these understandings. Again, I am aware that sometimes after communicating properly also, relationship issues do not get sorted out. sometimes going to a counselor also, relationship do not get sorted, because there are inherent differences in people, and you can never have them. Like, you, certain things will never change. It also depends on a lot of other factors. Okay, so that's all about relationship management. Yeah, I wish you all a very happy Women's Day, and thank you so much for such a patient listening. Now, just give me 2 minutes. I'll stop sharing, and we can all start our videos and have some discussion, if you are okay and if you would wish to.
Thank you so much for wonderful session, Amruta madam. अगर आज जो टॉप सेशन हमारा हुआ है उसके रिलेटेड अगर किसी को कुछ क्वेश्चंस है या फिर कुछ आप शेयर करना चाहते हैं, प्लीज खुद को अनम्यूट करके आप शेयर कर सकती हैं.
Please feel free to share. Okay, we are all here today to share our our ideas. It's not a one-way session that I'm saying and you are listening. So I'd really like if one or two of you all can at least say something about the session or something, any other ideas that you have.
Yes, Dhare madam.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My question is like this way: why these negative thoughts are continuously coming in our mind?
Ma'am, to think about that, there is an evolutionary reason for it. Okay, like I would rather be careful as an individual, okay, than be overconfident. Okay, therefore, brain will prefer negative thoughts over positive thoughts. Which means if I'm saying, "Arey, ye to nahi ho jayega, ye to nahi ho jayega, ye to nahi ho jayega," I'm likely to take actions which is not those. Okay, that's one reason why negative thoughts are there, but there is no absolute concern about negative thoughts. Okay, do the negative thoughts bother you so much that it impacts you?
Yeah, means what I read is like this way: as amygdala part is there in our brain, and
Correct.
continuously, because during evolution period,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just explaining this. You are
Yes.
very well aware of it. I know
No,
it.
no. Please feel
Yeah.
free. We are not about. It's just a discussion. So please feel
Yeah.
free.
During evolution period, how our brain is developed, and
Mm-hmm.
that is because in this amygdala, we were living in forest jungles, you can say, and
Correct.
continuously we were scared of jungly animals. What
Correct.
they will attack on us. So all the times we were ready or standing on the toes that how to run. If any dangerous animal or anyone is coming, they will attack. They will attack us. What will happen? So I think that thought is continuously, means it is one kind of negative thought, and during evolution that thought, negative thinking, is continuously there in our mind, and that is because of amygdala. And I think because of that, uh, always it is there that our brain is always on standing on toes move. That suppose
Yes.
someone, yeah. So I'm thinking like this way. So if
Yes.
somebody is asking me, so I'm explaining them why these negative thoughts are continuously coming. This is because this is the reason how our brain developed during evolution period.
Absolutely. What you're saying is absolutely right. Now, only thing is I need to slowly shape my brain to say
Hmm.
that what danger was perceived earlier is not the danger that I am in now.
Hmm.
Okay, suppose when I go to Kashmir, then I was very maybe cautious and I was fearful of attacks. When I come to Mumbai, that's not going to be the case. So I must now slowly tell myself that तभी था danger, लेकिन अभी नहीं है.
Yeah, it is true. But
हाँ.
then also, always we are thinking first it will come in our mind. Suppose any positive thing is also going to happen. But
Yes.
one question is coming in. ऐसा नहीं हुआ तो अगर कुछ प्रॉब्लम आया तो so always we are thinking negative first.
Correct.
Yeah, and then yoga, pranayama, mindfulness, like that, so many solutions are there for that. But
Absolutely.
yeah, to be in a present tense, that is the best solution. But it is like that, it is very difficult, and because of the means हमारी brain की जो रचना है उसके कारण ही ये हम जनरली पॉजिटिव स्टेट में प्रेजेंट स्टेट में नहीं रह सकते.
बराबर है. और वो
हाँ.
ठीक है, मतलब it's okay to be that like that because as a human being we are shaped like that. What you're saying is absolutely right.
Yeah.
Okay. Only thing is sometimes what happens for people, say for example in for some people the negative thoughts are so much that they can't function. In that
Yeah.
case then help is needed. Okay, like nobody comes to exam saying that मुझे सब ठीक है से आ जाएगा. Okay, मुझे नहीं आया तो मैं blank हुआ तो ये question ही नहीं आया तो ये हुआ तो. So everybody, many people, like most people would come in this state only, but that's not disrupting them. Now somebody who comes and faints because they think that they will not be able to answer is something where help is needed.
Yeah, that is there. Correct. So there means काउंसलर का जो काम है वो वहां पे शुरू हो जाता है कि निगेटिव थॉट्स ही अगर ज्यादा है और पॉजिटिव होते हुए भी वो नहीं आ रहे हैं, सो वो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट होता है सबके लिए. As you are a counselor, that's why I'm telling this thing to you.
No, absolutely. What you're saying is absolutely right. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else would want to share anything? You would want to give a feedback?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, and it's really good what you explained. Thank you.
Yes,
Sneha, ma'am.
madam.
Yes.
Can
you switch on your video?
May I speak in Marathi?
Yes.
हा, मला आता असं सांगायचंय की बऱ्याचदा कसं होतं की अति नॉलेज म्हणतो ना किंवा अति माहिती ती पण आपल्याला निगेटिव्ह थॉट्सला कारणीभूत होते. उदाहरणार्थ आपण आजकाल गुगलवरती एखादा आजाराविषयी किंवा काय असं आपण अति वाचतो की काही आपल्याला थोडंसं काही झालं असं कळलं की आपण त्याचं डिटेलिंग म्हणजे डॉक्टर्स असतात पण तरी पण आपण गुगलवरती आजकाल एक ते डिक्शनरी सारखं ते सगळं मिळतं की युट्यूब वरती काही व्हिडिओज वगैरे होतात. तर ह्याचाही काही परिणाम होतो ना निगेटिव्ह म्हणजे अति आपण चिकित्सा करतो म्हणतो किंवा त्याचा परिणाम होतो. म्हणजे आवश्यकतेपेक्षा अति पण विचार करणं चुकीचं आहे तसं पण होतं ना. म्हणजे
ऍब्सोल्युटली त्याला इन्फॉर्मेशन ओव्हरलोड असं म्हटलेलं आहे आणि आता गुगल हा खूप प्रॉब्लेमॅटिक, जसं तुम्ही म्हणालात खूप बरोबर पॉइंट तुम्ही बोललात की गुगलमुळे खरंच खूप म्हणजे हे होत आहे. बरेच समय माझा एक मित्र डॉक्टर आहे, तो आल्यावर पेशंटना सांगतो की तुमचं गुगलचं नॉलेज तुम्ही बाहेर ठेवा, मी जे सांगतोय ते ऐका. सो इतकं हे होतं. पण आय थिंक इट डिपेंड्स. मला पण गुगलवर वाचायला खूप आवडतं आणि आपल्याला आपला समज करून घ्यायला आवडतो. पण वेन यू नो की नाही हा डॉक्टर आहे आणि जर तोच तसं सांगतोय तर ते यू हॅव टू एक्सेप्ट.
काय घ्यायचं काय नाही आणि कितीपर्यंत लिमिट्स ठेवायचं ते आपण पण थोडंसं त्याच्यावरती बंधन आणलं पाहिजे थोडक्यात.
बरोबर आहे. आता ज्याला फरक पडतो त्याला, म्हणजे आता मी खूप वाचेन कदाचित गुगलवर, पण आय वुड स्टील टेल माय सेल्फ की नाही हे गुगलचं वाचन जे आहे ना ते प्रत्येक पेशंटला लागू नसतं, ते जनरलाइज्ड लिहितात. सो जे माझ्या कॉन्टेक्स्ट मध्ये असेल ते इतरांच्या कॉन्टेक्स्ट मध्ये कदाचित नसेल, त्यामुळे मला डॉक्टर लागतो. नाहीतर बाय गुगल माझं सगळंच झालं असतं. पण व्हॉट यू आर सेइंग ऍब्सोल्युटली राईट.
हो, पर्सन टू पर्सन थिंकिंग पण वेगळं असतं ना प्रत्येकाचं. म्हणजे अगदी फॅमिली सुद्धा वेगवेगळं असतं. म्हणजे अगदी आई मुलीचं सुद्धा सगळेच विचार जमतील असं पण नसतं ना. म्हणजे असं
नाहीये, कुठल्याही दोन माणसांचे जमणार नाहीत आणि जमूही नाही.
हो, बरोबर. धन्यवाद.
थँक्यू सो मच.
आणखीन एक असं होतं की बऱ्याच आपल्याला असं जाणवतं म्हणजे इन जनरल म्हणजे घरातच असं नाही आजूबाजूला पण आपण बऱ्याच वेळा मदत करतो. म्हणजे आपण एखाद्याला की बाबा मला हे कळलंय हे तुझ्या कामाचं आहे वगैरे. पण बऱ्याच वेळा लोकांचं ऍप्रिसिएशन देण्याकडे हे नसतं की बाबा आम्ही नेहमी असं म्हणतो की आम्ही उदाहरणार्थ आमच्या मुलाला म्हणतो की कोणी एखाद्याने आपल्याला मदत केली किंवा त्याचं सॉरी आणि थँक्यू दोन साधे शब्द असतात. म्हणजे मराठीत म्हणा किंवा इंग्लिश ते त्या वेळेला इमिजिएट देणं त्याचं जे इम्पॉर्टन्स असतं ना ते समोरच्याला त्याच्यामुळे बरं वाटतं. पण ती एक म्हणजे भावनांक नाही म्हणा किंवा काय पण तेही बऱ्याच जणांकडे म्हणजे जाणवतं की नाहीये म्हणजे इच्छा नसते देण्याची म्हणजे लोकांची.
बरोबर. मग त्याच्या वेळेला आपण सेल्फ टॉक असा करतो की मला आवडलं असतं त्यांनी मला थँक्यू म्हटलं असतं कारण मी खरंच खूप मेहनत केली. पण ठीक आहे मला माहितीये ना मी मदत केली.
अमृता मॅडम,
आपण आपलं चांगलं करणं थांबवायचं नाही थोडक्यात.
बरोबर. एक्झॅक्टली. मनाली मॅम तुम्ही काहीतरी म्हणाला.
एक्सप्लेनेशन हिंदी में अगर देंगे तो बाकी लोगों को भी आसान होगा.
ओके.
थँक्यू.
सॉरी मी मराठीत विचारलं.
नाही नो प्रॉब्लेम. Anyone else would want to give any feedback? Please feel free to say that आपने ये भी include करना चाहिए था जो आपने नहीं किया. It is not the only positive feedback that I'm looking for. It could be any. Okay, then I think Manali ma'am, we should close. If
Yeah. Okay. I once again thank everybody. Yeah. I thank Amruta madam and all the participants for wonderful response. I'm writing down our phone numbers for contact in the chat box now. You can write them down. और अगर किसी को काउंसलिंग रिलेटेड या फिर कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन आपको चाहिए, क्योंकि हमारे साथ अमृता मैडम काउंसिल एज अ काउंसलर भी जुड़ी हुई है, तो आपके परिवार में रिश्तेदार आसपास अगर किसी को काउंसलिंग की जरूरत है, करियर काउंसलिंग, लाइफ काउंसलिंग, व्हाटएवर, तो आप हमें जरूर कांटेक्ट करिए. मैं चैट बॉक्स में लिख रही हूँ अभी.
thank you, Ruby ma'am.
Thank you, Manali ma'am, and thank you, ma'am, for your lecture, Amruta ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Have a wonderful evening.
You know.
Thank you so much. We'll conclude today's session. Thank you once again for everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.